Oh boy, dip one toe into the water of FNAF theories and the Fazgoo will suck you in for more. Today we're talking about Burntrap, the William that wasn't, and how it fits into the second saga of FNAF. I also want to talk more about the Mimic, because some people, such as Rightoast, seem to be under the impression that the Mimic is the next major antagonist in the story, rather than the current that has been actively the threat since the beginning of the second saga, starting at Help Wanted. To understand my thoughts on Burntrap, we need to take a step back and look at Saga 2 as a whole. In Help Wanted, we learned about how Fazbear is making a VR game and incorporating any old code or tech they could get their greedy mittens on. We're told that the VR game is to make light of past events and move on, implying that some version of Saga 1 did happen, but to squint at the looser details because it doesn't matter all too much moving forward. This also allows them to soft retcon a few things as they need to for this new story to work. It's worth noting that in the books, only the first 4 FNAF games are made by the indie game dev hired by Fazbear. This may be an indication that Sister Location and Pizza Sim might be taken more at face value. As we go through Help Wanted, we learn about a rogue program that's sitting and watching everything that's happening, and would go on to become Burntrap. I believe that this is M1. Not too long after, our player character, Vanessa, has her mind rewritten by Glitchtrap and turns her into a reluctant servant. Vanessa, now Vanny, makes the Vanny mask. I don't believe that this is just the costume mask, but rather the actual AR mask we see in later games. I think this is when Vanny is led to the Pizza Sim location to repair Fiona. Side note, things in this theory video are connected to other theories I have. If you want context on my wider beliefs, watch my previous FNAF video going over the secret of the Mimic timeline. A very brief context, Afton took Edwin's house, turned the underground tunnels into the Sister Location bunker, Henry used the underground pizzeria for the Pizza Sim trap, and the Pizzaplex was later built on top of where the costume manor used to be. I don't believe the books are canon to the games directly, but rather looking at alternate versions of the same basic story, recontextualizations or alternate angles. With that, we come to the storyteller. Again, very briefly, the head of Fazbear installs an AI system into the whole Pizzaplex, to the dismay of Edwin, who in the books is still alive. With some digging, Edwin's worst fears are realised when he finds out that the AI program is N1. This is not subtext, this is the text. Edwin can see a program called Mimic 1 being run.
Wiki, the storyteller.
M1 is running the Pizzaplex. Fiona, M1, is running the Pizzaplex. This is a fact. Next, we need to look at her motivations. In Secret of the Mimic, we are told again her intentions directly. She wants David back. M1, Fiona, wants to get M2 working as David. I will be referring to Robo Fiona as M1 to avoid confusion. Also, it's just easier to type out than F1-ON4 for the script. As M1 has been coming back online, what has she learned? She learned the history of Fazbear from the 80s to modern times, and most notably the story of William Afton, the man who took everything from Edwin, including making robotics able to host human souls, / remnant if you honestly has, but narrowed it down to a science. Edwin only managed to do it once by accident with Fiona, and then couldn't recreate it with David, but Afton could practically mass-produce haunted robots. Another quick context tangent. A Reddit user named Tolacid proposed a theory that M1 was built using remnant from Fiona, which I agree with. Link to their post here, I won't be going over it in detail again. M1 would have enough context by this point to know that the story went that Afton stuffed the bodies of his victims into suits, which led to them being haunted. Further research could lead her to learn about the Sister Location bunker and the bunker. What? Further research could lead her to learn about the Sister Location bunker. Henry had blueprints on a terminal in the Pizza Sim location where M1 currently is. What else is in the Pizza Sim location? Afton's corpse, and N1 has plans for it. First things first, M1 needs a better power supply, test subjects, and a way to not look suspicious to the outside world. She already has the Pizzaplex in her metaphorical hands, as well as access to the animatronics inside to be her own guards, and Vanny for fieldwork. The Pizzaplex itself is a good enough reason to have more power, so M1 is able to divert power to herself. We saw in Secret of the Mimic that she takes a ton of power, enough that the MCM had fluctuations while she was active, and even M2 seems to try to run on sentences. We saw in Secret of the Mimic that she takes a ton of power, enough that the MCM had fluctuations while she was active. Even M2 seemed to try to work on new power tests, though whether this was actually M2 or M2 parroting Edwin is also uncertain, but semantics in this case. Some sections of the Pizzaplex, notably the kindergarten, need their own generators because something has drained away a good chunk of power in the building. I believe this is because M1 takes so much power that the Pizzaplex doesn't have enough to go around. To be fully in control, M1 takes out the human staff in the Pizzaplex. Brief evidence here, this is a known fact by now. I believe the reason this was done was to stop word from leaking out about the weird goings-on in the Pizzaplex. If all the staff are robots under M1's control, she doesn't need to worry about her plans being stopped. In the VIP book, we're shown that the storyteller, M1, is inviting kids to the Pizzaplex for free so that she can abduct them. We aren't told what ended in the book, but I believe it ties back to Burntrap and everything we've been talking about. Finally, we can talk about security breach directly. First of all of the main animatronics and mascots used are those of Edwin and Fiona's creations. The exception is Freddy, who's the face of Fazbear, so can't easily be removed. The exception is Freddy, who is the face of Fazbear and can't so easily be removed from the roster. We also see that the systems in place are based on Edwin's designs, as the Fazwrench power systems are a much more advanced version of the MTM power systems. M1 has M2 insert itself into Burntrap, it can fit any shape costume after all, and the final result is put into a pod to charge. M1 has done her best to recreate what she knows of Afton's horrors to try to reanimate him. However, and this is very important, it doesn't work. I forgot to write this in the script, so this will be off the cuff. Fire removes agony. It cleanses Remnant of agony. Remnant itself is the spirit stuff stuck to the metal. Afton's spirit is in purgatory, pinned there by Golden Freddy. There is no Afton remnant left. Freddy spots Gregory, and a subroutine for abducting lone kids begins to run, but his operating systems run into an error, possibly because of all the witnesses, or possibly because he's already relegated everything. Pepper's fruits. Yes. Weird. Freddy spots Gregory, and a subroutine for abducting lone kids begins to run, but his operating system runs into an error, possibly because of all the witnesses, or possibly because he's already running a Showtime routine. Regardless, he suffers a full system crash. Why? Regardless, he suffers a full system crash, and later reboots in safe mode, saving him from the system and from M1's control. Security breach then plays out. An important clarification: I'm not claiming that the Burntrap ending is the singular canon ending for security breach. I am claiming that it's really down there and does exist during security breach. Also, I'm not touching whatever the hell the deal is with Squid Ink Spaghetti. I have no idea where they're going with that. As discovered by fellow Bunny PNG tuber _, there's a direct connection from Burntrap's room to where Cassie finds M2. From what we hear from Gregory, he, and likely Vanessa, found M2 after it escaped from its pod and sealed it away. They may have also tried to burn it in an attempt to destroy it, which would explain the lack of Burntrap and bodily remains, and also why the Mimic is noticeably charred. Regardless, while sealing M2 away, Gregory lost his backpack. Whoever he was working with, likely Vanessa, would later abandon their walkie-talkie on the upper floors. This is where Cassie finds it. I believe that Vanessa, Gregory, who may be Dr. Rabbit, or a combination of the two, then finished and installed the Mix's program into the Pizzaplex mainframe. Note that the Mix's avatar itself never tries to hurt Cassie, and in fact tries to stop her from freeing M2. Neither M2 nor Mixes have any control over the animatronics anymore, as can be proven by Roxy. Roxy tries to kill Cassie, but stops when she realizes she isn't Gregory, and later even saves her. I believe that both M1 and M2 are both luring Cassie down to free M2. M2 is acting as the voice of Gregory as the walkie-talkie, and M1 is guiding Cassie around using the Helpy overlay in AR. M2 is mostly able to let the Helpy program run itself, but will occasionally take direct control, as can be seen by the corrupted, mimicified version of the avatar. The base Helpy program also tells us that the Mixes program is an anomalous program. Too many program words to use. The base Helpy program also tells us that the Mixes program is an anomaly, without M2 taking control. The events of Ruin play out, and we're left with M1 free from the Mixes program, M2 freed from its concrete cell but seemingly trapped underground with Cassie, and Roxy free from the control of M1 and around to protect Cassie from the machinations of M1 and M2. That catches us up to the present. The Mimic, using the term broadly, has been the villain all along, as M1 and M2 throughout the second saga. The secret of the Mimic is that it has two operating systems, M1 and M2, a mother and her son. What comes next for FNAF? I think we're going to be seeing the last game of the saga next, maybe second to last depending on how much story there is left to tell. If I were to make a prediction, I would say we're going to be playing as Vanessa once again, and we're going to destroy the Mimic once and for all, and probably saving Cassie while doing so. And I don't really have an ending, so like, comment, subscribe if you too have been abducted and killed as a child.